The toughest part of mixing I still struggle with to this day is bass. Always asking myself, there has to be an easier way to fit this bass in the mix. And then there's the never-ending search for bass solutions to help you get that perfect bass tone in a mix. I almost gave up on the search until recently when a new piece of software entered my life that seemed almost too simple and gimmicky to be true. Hear it for yourself. With just 6 controls, Double Tap from Submission Audio takes 2 decades worth of mixing and mastering experience from Ermin Hamidovic, who has worked on records from artists like Northlane, Plini, Intervals, Architects, and countless others. I mean, Ermin literally wrote the book on how you can get the best mixes of your life. The 2 bigger knobs control the compression parameters. The knob on the left is specific to bass low end, and the knob on the right is for overall compression. Under the hood, both these compressors are multi-band VCA style compressors that are working in serial. Under both compression knobs are corresponding volume knobs for fine tuning, one for low end and the other for overall level. In the middle, we have 2 saturation options. Blue is going to give you a smooth clipping saturation sound. Think console/tape saturation. And then grunt is a more aggressive parallel saturation option. And then there's an EDM switch, which changes what's going on under the hood and is designed for heavier synth bass tracks. Double Tap was made for bass instruments specifically, so that's where I focus. I did test it on some drum buses and mix buses just for fun, but those aren't really practical ways to use Double Tap and more just fun for testing its limits. Let's get into examples of Double Tap in action. So for the first example, we're going to be using Punk Bass from Submission Audio, and I'm going to be using it on the Teen Fuzz distortion sound, and then I'm also going to be using CLA bass. I'm going to go ahead and play Punk Bass before CLA bass and then show you afterwards as well. And now we're going to play the track and then dial in Double Tap. So the manual says to bring this into like the orange. Oh, I can really hear that low end come up. All right, cool. Bring that back down a little bit. And then grunt is supposed to give us a more saturated parallel sound. I'm gonna go with grunt, because I want it to cut. Get some VCA compression on the overall. So with compression, you want the compression to park the instrument in whatever part of the space it's occupying, so that when the frequencies or the movement, I should say, is happening between the left and the right speakers and whatever other instruments are there, that it's moving in a way that keeps it in its parking spot is the best way I can describe it. Like, you want it to stay in its parking spot and not deviate from the lanes in the parking spot. Let's listen to this section of the palm muted guitars with Double Tap off and then back on, and you can really hear how the low end compression with the overall compression are really gluing it to be in sync with those guitars. Oh, that's so sick. Example number 2 is a metalcore track, and I was already provided the bass sounds for this track, so I just did a little blending, and now we're gonna put some CLA bass on it so you can hear it right now. Just give me a little more grit. Let's do the same thing and start dialing in some Double Tap. Again, the orange is the sweet spot. I'm not sure if I'm gonna want saturation just yet on this one. All right, that's pretty cool. Let's get some overall compression going. I'm gonna bring down the volume and then bring back in the low comp. That sounds great. Let's hear it in the track. Yeah, I want that grunt on there. So example number 3 is a hard rock track. I was already provided bass, so I'm gonna use CLA bass to get me a gritty tone, and then we're gonna use double tap to dial it in. So let's get in. All right, so this is what I'm doing with CLA bass. You can already hear that bass is dynamically all over the place. And let's get double tap dialed in. Take a listen in solo. And you know what? For this bass, actually, I want to do something a little bit different now that I'm hearing it back. I'm going to duplicate this before CLA bass. I'm going to turn off this instance. I'm actually going to default it. And I want to compress before CLA bass. And I don't want to grunt it just as much right now. I want to add some saturation though. Let's take a listen without. It's really muddy in the mids, the low mids. All right, let's dial it back in with the mix with the second instance. Let's listen to it again. You know, when something's so simple, you kind of overcomplicate it just because you don't believe it should be that simple. You almost want to make it harder on yourself because you feel it has to be. That kind of happened to me with double tap because I was like, there's no way just by moving these knobs I'm there, but it really is that simple. There's no trickery. It's straightforward and everything you want. It's so freaking easy. And if you made it this far and enjoyed the video, do us a favor and boop that like button below for the almighty YouTube algorithm. We greatly appreciate it, and we'll see you in the next video.